Hey Wes, welcome.
Hi, Carly. How are you?
Good, I'm doing well. We're excited to have you today. So, without further ado, I want to present our next speaker, Wes from. Oh, can you
SPS.
hear?
Yeah.
Sorry, my internet connection said unstable. But wanted to further introduce Wes from SPS Commerce. And to kick things off in the chat, I would love to hear from everyone what retailer you are looking to expand into in 2022, and hopefully SPS can make it happen for you. And Wes is going to dive in on how he makes that possible for e-commerce brands. So Wes, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you.
All right. Thanks, Carly.
Yeah.
I will share my screen here. Let's see. And Carly, can you just confirm that you can still see my screen? Everything looks good.
I see you right now. So just go ahead and go into
Oh,
presenter mode and just share. Yeah, it should have share
oh,
slides.
yep. I forgot to click the button. That's what it
No
is.
worries.
There we go. All right. There we go.
Awesome. You're
Well, I'm happy to be here. Nice to meet you all. Just wanted to share a little bit about the world of retail, the things we're seeing, and where we come into play, how our partnership with ShipBob, um, helps our customers manage some of the challenges we're seeing out there. So I'm Wes. I run our logistics partnerships. That's the relationship with ShipBob. Um, I've been with SPS for about 7 years now. So to just jump into this, if we flash back to April 2020, obviously the world was going through a lot of things back then. One of them that you remember specifically was store shelves that were empty. Everybody remembers walking to that grocery store, not seeing the products that they're used to seeing, and kind of having a panic about that. And Costco, one of our customers, was also panicking about that particular situation because if they don't have products, they've got nothing to sell. So that being said, they reached out to us and said we need to onboard some new vendors to be able to expand our selection because our normal vendors just can't meet our demand. So you can do it in the chat real quickly. I can't see it, but you can take a guess at how many vendors we onboarded during the first 6 months after this. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. Feel free to throw a guess in there. All right. So the answer is 1,286 vendors that we onboarded during the first 6 months. So that was Costco coming to us saying, this needs to happen fast. We need to be able to send them purchase orders immediately. They need to be set up. But we did this with others as well, because every retailer was kind of in this same challenge where they needed people who could supply product so they could meet their customers' needs. So coming out of that, what did that mean for us going forward, and what have we seen there? So one of the key takeaways, obviously, is it presented a lot of opportunity for other brands to get into retailers. It also meant more competition, more assortment amongst the brands that retailers had on the shelves. What it also left us with was a feeling of retail innovation and evolution had to happen. Walmart, had to pretty quickly evolve their buy online, pick up in store offering. It's something that seems so silly now that we didn't have that. I looked at an article from mid 2019 that said Walmart was just about to roll that out at that point. But there were a lot of restrictions. You had to put your order in before 4 p.m. It was a 4-hour wait. All these things that were the culmination of, I think, 10 years of effort from Walmart. And then once everything hit in March, suddenly every retailer had to get that rolled out immediately. And then the other thing was that we saw really as an impact of everything that's happened over the last couple of years is really the explosion of e-commerce platforms and marketplaces. There used to be this idea out there that I heard from brands a lot that they didn't want to compete with their retailers, so they wouldn't have their own e-com platform. And it's an interesting concept. It made sense at the time. You didn't want to compete for that same sale with your retailer. But since all of this happened, that I have not heard that since. People are very willing and know that, it's a must. You have to have your brand out there in multiple places, and to do so, obviously, you need to continue to evolve with everything that's happening. The other side of things is not only did retail have to shift, consumers really forced everybody to change the way that they do things. We see it, the pressure coming from both sides of the equation. Obviously, you and I probably have the same thing where, you're sitting at home, watching a show, suddenly something sparks your interest in, you think, hey, let me go see where I can buy that, what type of thing I can get it ordered. Used to be that there was a couple places to order that, not just a few years ago. And now, and I think I heard it in one of the sessions earlier, the growth of this space, everything from, Mercari, Amazon, Pinterest, but, things like, Target Plus they're rolling out, Instagram, being able to buy on social channels, is really driving the need to innovate and keep up with all the changing demands. So those expectations also drove quite a few changes across the entire supply chain. So as we all know, 2-day shipping, 5 years ago was something that everybody was trying to figure out, but seemed kind of like a dream. It wasn't something that was easy. It was, people were talking about, is this a sustainable approach? Can we get with this? And frankly, that conversation is completely out the window. And now that is the expectation, which is really pushing supply chains to have to adapt and have to keep up with that. I'm currently sitting in Las Vegas at the Manifest conference, which is a logistics technology show. But really, all the discussions they've had here are around how do we keep up with this? How do we innovate to make sure that our supply chains, which are under a ton of pressure, can adapt to the changing market and the things that our consumers and retailers are expecting. So the other thing is that boom of last mile delivery. I know for me, Shipt is not something that I was aware of prior to March of 2020, but my family became very, very familiar with it after that point. And now that's become a pretty common way that we get our food, our groceries. So there's a ton of last mile delivery options out there. It's becoming, again, due to the need to have things in consumers' hands quickly, is driving the growth in that space. Additionally, so this is something that certainly not new, and frankly, none of this is new, but it was accelerated by everything that's happened since March of 2020. It's really putting pressure on brands to make sure that they're presenting their items in a way that's attractive to the consumer. When we go to buy something, this is what you expect. You expect a great overview, you expect pictures, you expect a lot of data to tell you what you're buying, so that you're not just kind of guessing what the product is. And really, we expect this. If you went to a website and found this, it's the same product as this, but obviously you don't have an image, you don't have that description, nobody's going to buy that. It's become just table stakes to have all of that data given to your retailers, given to your e-commerce platforms, so that that's consistent across any selling channel that you have, but also it's done in a way that's gets all the data out there. And I think lastly, as big a factor as that is having items in stock. Obviously, there's some intense pressure on supply chains right now, but the important thing is to have items in stock, because there's a study by McKinsey that said 60% of consumers over the last 3 months have seen stockouts, something that they were going to buy that was out of stock, and only 13% waited for that item to come back in stock. Everybody else just went and bought something else. So it tells you not only is it important to have inventory available, which it's a challenge, we all understand that, but it's important that we're communicating that inventory to the selling channels, because obviously if you have a lot of inventory sitting there, but your marketplace or your retailer doesn't know that because you're not communicating the proper way and telling them that, you're losing sales. We talked about this a little bit, but that 2-day shipping expectation, again, just blows my mind that that's now almost 2 days is sometimes towards the maximum of what people expect. But in looking at what people expect nowadays, if you look at kind of break down this graph, almost 70% of people expect things in 3 days or less. Frankly, I'm surprised it's not higher, given that, if I'm ordering something and it says it's going to be more than a week, I start to look elsewhere. I mean, that has become a part of our buying experience, is not just the product, not just the features, but really how quickly can you get it into my hands? Because for some reason, I've decided I need that, and I need it as quickly as possible. Not too many years ago, this used to be a pretty acceptable model, that you could have a warehouse in California that had all your goods in it. If somebody from New York ordered something, it was going to take 4 or 5 days to ship it across the country. That has obviously changed, as the last slide indicated. Now it requires a 3PL, a logistics strategy that gets everything close to where it needs to be, not only from a shipping cost perspective, but frankly from a delivery time expectation. That's where that partnership with ShipBob comes into play here, and they can provide some great coverage on that. But it's something that, again, it wasn't that long ago that you could have maybe even a bi-coastal 3PL shipping those goods. And now you really need to have that close to your consumers to be able to meet their needs and get it in their hands quickly. Because of that, we've seen a ton of growth in the 3PL market. Like I said, that's where I focus a lot of my time. We have a team that focuses specifically on brands and vendors and getting them, compliant with what retailers are asking for. But what that's done is really put 3PL, warehouse space in high demand. It's meant that there's really almost no inventory available of warehouse space. Compound that with the shortage of warehouse workers and everything else going on there. It's really changed the power balance between, that vendor and 3PL, and frankly has driven it really has to be a partnership. That's always been true to a certain extent, but at one point the vendor could really tell their logistics provider kind of whatever they wanted, and they would, say how high. In this case, it's become where, because of the shortage, because of, everything that's at play, that power balance has shifted, and really has to be a partnership, so that both parties are working together. Additionally, as I've been ordering things over the past several years, these examples come up quite a bit. So, there's a time where, maybe I order some food. I'm able to track it, see when it's going to get to my door. It alerts me throughout that whole process. At the same time, I always have some sort of Amazon packaging showing up at my door. And then, occasionally I'll order something big, maybe a piece of furniture. Now, the funny thing is, as those goods are all getting shipped to me, I know exactly where my pizza and my, $20 item from Amazon is, but couldn't tell you where my piece of furniture is, when that's going to hit my door, when I should expect to see it, because it just kind of goes into a black hole. And that's really what's changing amongst consumers, is this expectation that I want to be able to see where, pretty quickly where, when it's going to hit my door. I want to understand where it is throughout the process, because that is the expectation. If I can get that in a pizza, why can't I see that with whatever good I purchased from you? So all of that said, in the changing landscape, I want to talk a little bit about how SPS and SPS and the partnership with ShipBob helps to address this. So first, SPS really is a EDI organization. That's really where we got our start, but it's a retail network. We connect all the parties in that retail ecosystem so that everybody's talking to each other in the language that they want to talk in. So we have 90,000 companies that we have a pre-map connection with, so that you're not having to build that out individually. 3,500 retailers, e-com platforms, marketplaces, 3PLs, systems that we connect to, whether it's, a NetSuite, QuickBooks, SAP, whatever you're running, we have, integrations into those that are pre-built and ready to go. And then what we bring to the market really is some technology that helps people comply with retail expectations, but a team of experts, so that you don't have to understand, if you get into Target, maybe you've been selling on your own website, Target says, we want your products on our shelf. I was actually at lunch today talking to somebody, and they said, yep, I have a brand who's dealing with that right now. All of a sudden Target's asking them to get products onto their shelves and they're like, what do we do? And so that's where we come into play. We can give them the technology, the expertise. So we have people who've done this many, many times. They understand it. They know the testing process. We can help you get through that. And then ongoing help manage that relationship, make sure that you're up to date and trained on that solution. This is really what it looks like when people try to build it on their own. They go from, point A to point B, trying to build out of these individual connections where, as I said before, we focus on this as a network. We connect all these parties. We sit in the middle of that to ensure that all parties are talking in their own language, but we insulate you, as you see on this right side, insulate you from having to deal with the nuances of each of those partners. And instead, you worry about one connection with us. We take care of the rest. Again, I had referred to this before. There's a ton of solutions that come into play that really surround that experience of working with a retailer, a marketplace, whether it's item data, it's that EDI data, it's connecting to your warehouse. All of that is at play, and all of that falls under kind of the umbrella of where SPS fits in. Additionally, if you're looking to understand, where your goods are, how they're selling at the point of sale, because obviously that makes a big impact on where that product lives in the US, where you want to focus your efforts on marketing, whatever the case may be. Having analytics to help drive that, help to see what's happening outside of just what purchase orders you're getting, but really where is that selling, what SKUs are selling, having some analytics around that. And even just, maybe you just want to understand, how is my business doing as a whole, being able to quickly view that. So lastly, again, as I said before, we're working with you every step of the way. So from the day Target calls you and says, I want your products on my shelf, we'll help you get that implemented, help you work with the trading partner, whoever it may be, retailer or e-com, get it set up, and then get you trained so that, again, you don't need to become an EDI expert, but your retailer will think that you are because of the way that we can set this up. So in summary, there's a ton that goes into this process, a ton that goes into EDI. Our goal is to take that off your plate. Let us worry about that. You focus on building your business, leave the rest to us. And again, it can lead to, customers being very successful, not having this be a roadblock or a barrier to success, but instead something that, becomes sort of just a piece of the equation that's not kind of a non-issue, allows them to continue to scale and grow their business without this getting in the way. So with that is all I had to share. I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I will be in my booth right after this and happy to take some more questions there.
Awesome, Wes. Well, I have some questions for you if you're up to it. The first one is, how do I identify retail partners that I should sell on?
That's a good question. So in terms of going out and finding new retailers, we certainly can help. If you're looking to, kind of break into a retailer, we can introduce you to, groups that's their job, getting people into retailers, and help broker those introductions. Because again, our team has a ton of experience in that retail space. So we're happy to help there.
Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about SPS. I feel like EDI is such a beast, and I am constantly learning from you guys every day. And then I have another one for you.
Sure.
What are some ways brands can improve their internal vendor compliance? How often are rules changing?
So it depends on the retailer with how often they're changing. There's EDI rules, there's other rules, these books that the retailer gives you to say, here's our compliance manual. It's thick. And so there's a lot of pieces that go into that. We'll certainly make sure that you're compliant with EDI. That's part of what we do, is keep up with those changes. If they make a change on the ASN, we take care of that. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to, because anybody who's been in the retail game knows there's chargebacks. There's, obviously you can hurt the relationship if you're not keeping up with those things. So between, a great EDI partner, a great 3PL who's going to help you ship those, like ShipBob, who knows these retailers, who can help you comply, that's where this partnership is really valuable. We're really excited about it because it does give you a much more holistic solution for these retailers.
Totally. I could not agree with you more.